Welcome to my channel. My name is Una Kravitz and I do videos about tech and life and just all the things that are going on. I'm super excited to do today's video because I am going to start a tag. Yeah. For today's video, I'm going to talk about computer science and school and 5 tips that I have for computer science students. School's starting like this week, so I think there's not a better time to do a video about advice for students. I loved going to college. I don't think college is necessary per se to work as a developer in today's work environment, but you do get a lot of really great networking opportunities and you get to have 4 years of knowledge, like 4 years to study this field instead of a couple of months if you went to a boot camp or just kind of jumped right into it. So I think college was a great experience for me. I know that before I went to college I was really nervous about it, so that's kind of why I want to do this tag and just talk about the 5 tips that I have for other people who are going into school for computer science or finishing school for computer science or anywhere in between. Before I get too far into it, I want to tag Amy Codes to do this video next. Amy is somebody that I met, I don't even remember, I think through hackathons, through a Facebook community for women in tech or something like that. I honestly don't remember, but she is definitely the first tech person that I know that started a YouTube account. And then through her, she introduced me to a bunch of other tech YouTubers, which I thought was really cool that there's this burgeoning community. And that's kind of why I wanted to start a tag video post, because I haven't seen one yet and this community is growing and I think it's time for one. So I'm gonna have in the show notes today a bunch of links to all of those people that I have discovered so far that have really cool YouTube accounts talking about what they do. And yeah, just check them out if you're interested in videos like this one. Also, I'm trying out my ring light today, my brand new ring light. So let me know what you think about this setup. It's a little bit different. I'm finally filming at night, which I couldn't do before, which is like, thank God, because you know what? I'm a busy girl. Let's just say I'm busy. I don't have time to be rushing home after work to film, so I got this ring light so that I could film at night, but I don't know. It's a little bit harder to get the lighting right. We'll see how it goes. So the first piece of advice that I have for computer science students is take advantage of the networking and the community that you're going to be surrounded by in school and out of school. The biggest reason I think people go to college is because they, well, you know, you get an education, but also you are on this path to find your first job. And from that first job, then you're sort of judged on how you do in your job and not so much in your grades. But that in between time is where you can really form connections with professors and with other students and start to really mold a community around yourself. So what I mean by this is join the computer science club, join the computer science honors fraternity. I was a member of Upsilon Pi Epsilon. I am a member of Upsilon Pi Epsilon. That's the computer science honors fraternity. And I was a chair in the computer science club, and it was just such a great community of people because you're going to be up till like 2, 3 in the morning studying, doing work, and if you're not alone doing it, it is so much easier. It's so much better to be surrounded by this community of people, this group of people who is suffering along with you. I remember one night, it was like, I was working on a Java project. It was the Java chess AI, which every computer science student does. And I was just struggle busing. I could not, I just wasn't having it. And I like broke down crying like 2 and probably later, probably like 4 in the morning. I like hadn't slept all day. It was very sparse, the computer science room. There was like, I don't know, 4 of us there. I was just like, all right, I can't do it. I'm just gonna take the F. I'm just gonna take the fail. It's fine. This isn't for me. It's fine. It's just not for me. And one of the students there was the president of the computer science club at the time. And he just looks at me and says, Una, you're not gonna fail. We're not gonna let you fail. And that to me meant everything. That meant so much. And it was just such a push for me to get through it. And I ended up getting like almost straight A's in school because I'm just a massive nerd. But I needed that push. I needed that community around me. And that's what the real world is like too. You're not working in a silo. You're working with a group of people to create applications. You build these teams and you're working together. So I think it's really important to really try to make those connections in class, outside of class, and really start to create a community around you. I think community is so important. The next thing to note is that your first language is not going to be your last language. When I was in school, my first language that I worked on for computer science was Python, the first one we learned there. And then after that, we used Java to build applications. Now I don't touch any of those languages. I solely code in JavaScript HTML and CSS because I work in the front-end web development world. So I definitely haven't touched or written Python or Java in probably 5 years. But it was really important to understand those concepts. And I also think that you can't really understand a language without knowing at least two. So once you do get the foundation of a language, you can always compare it to something else. And don't get frustrated is kind of what I'm saying. Like if there's something that you're not really parsing with, or if you know you want to be a web developer but you're stuck learning Python, well, you can write Python on the web. But anyway, my point is that's not the be-all end-all, that you have a language from which you're learning and building and understanding concepts from. So just know that you don't have to be stuck with it forever. If you're more interested in web development, learning JavaScript on the side or just doing projects in JavaScript is a really great idea or thing to do. Or maybe you can get a internship where you can be doing more of what you want to be doing in the real world. Don't be frustrated if what you're doing in class is not what you want to do as your profession. And on that note, I will say my third point, which is that while sometimes it seems like some of these things like learning different sorting mechanisms, discrete structures, while they might seem like you're never going to use them in your career, you're going to be just solving problems. You have to go from point A to point B, and how can you do that most efficiently? And so these sorting algorithms, like, you're not going to need to have them memorized in real life, but they do help you learn and they do help you think like an engineer. I have a lot of thoughts about whiteboarding interviews and like what pros and cons of those. This video is not about that, but I do want you to know that it's frustrating sometimes, but you will get through it, and then you'll get to this happy land where you're actually applying your skills to be doing work where you see the end result. It definitely depends on what kind of field you go into, I will say that, but at least in the web community, even like robotics, you're applying those engineering skills to an output that you see, which you might not really be getting in class, so that's why you could be getting frustrated from that, but it is the concept learning and just learning how to think like an engineer that you're getting out of school, and that's important. Okay, so tip number 4, or piece of advice number 4, would be to find a community outside of school. I know the first point I said was to make friends with the people that you're surrounding yourself with in academia, but I definitely learned the most when I went outside of that to community events. I went to school in DC and we had some really great meetup groups. There was Refresh DC, which always had different agencies talk about how they built something and the technologies they used to go through it. And that's where I learned what front-end development was to begin with. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there's a name for this thing that combines design and it combines math and logic and computer science and web code. And it, like, I just had an epiphany moment, and I met so many people through this community. I got internships through this community. I met like mentors through this community. I asked people, I knew who to ask questions to. I started my own meetup group while I was in college for SAS, which is a CSS preprocessor, and it was just such a great experience. I think that I got so much more out of going to these outside of school events just in the DC community than I did from sitting in a classroom, like 100%. Web technology just changes too quickly to put it into a 4-year curriculum that you're going to be going through. It's just going to be outdated by the time that you have your next class starting. So it's important to go to these community events because you're really learning about what's going on at that time. There's professionals who are building things at that time, who are solving problems. If you can go to a conference for whatever sort of specific field that you're interested in, that is such a great thing to do while you're still in college. Like, that is one of the best things that you can do because you'll network, you'll learn about the fields more, you will learn about how the technology is evolving. I remember when I started going to conferences, I was still in college, and it was just like mind-blowing. And I was just so happy to be there and impressed with what people were working on. And it was so, so, so cool. So if you can, try to get internships outside of school, connect with those engineers, talk to those engineers about what they're working on, about what conferences they'd recommend. Maybe your employer could send you to one if it's local. There's so many great opportunities out there outside of school that you don't have to wait for. You don't have to wait to graduate to start going to these meetups and conferences and other types of events. Try to immerse yourself in as many different types of experiences as you can around professionals who are doing what you want to do when you graduate. And the 5th and last thing that I will say is to go to as many hackathons as possible without it affecting your GPA. Hackathons in college are such a fun experience where you get to hang out with people who are as nerdy as you are and into the same things as you are, but have different sets of skills and build something together. and it's just such a great atmosphere there. Hackathons can be massive. Like, I've gone to some hackathons with over 1,000 students. I've gone to hackathons in other countries. Like, we took a bus from DC to Canada with some other schools, which was really fun. I loved spending my weekends at hackathons. I think college hackathons, you really don't get the chance to have that outside of college or high school, because hackathons when you're an adult just aren't the same. You aren't gonna stay up for 24 hours straight and just binge on coffee and pizza and build a thing with your 4 friends from school and use new APIs and try to win prizes. It's just not the same, and it's such a good experience to do hackathons. Like, I really miss them, and I would advise for anyone who's in college now to take advantage of student hackathons. There are budgets that hackathons have now that will fly students out to places if they can't afford to go. My school was pretty small. I went to school at American University in DC. So a bigger school, the University of Maryland, used to send buses that would take their students and also any students from the surrounding schools that wanted to go to these hackathons. If you go to a smaller school, maybe see if you can join another school's trip out to an event. It's just a bunch of people in a room sitting in uncomfortable chairs, building a thing. I've learned so much from hackathons. I know that sounded actually really bad now that I say it out loud, but I've had such good experiences at them. School is the first priority though, so make sure that you're not spending all of your weekends at hackathons. You still need to have weekends to do some studying and to do some work and to have a life, but it is a unique experience to college that I would recommend that you take advantage of. They're so much fun. So that's all I have for today's video. If you liked this video, please hit subscribe. I'm still really new to YouTube. This is like my 2nd month or 3rd month of doing it, and I have so many ideas for videos on this subject. If you went to school for computer science, leave some advice for other students yourself. I want this to be a community. I want there to be back and forth and there to be people sharing advice. So I hope that you subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.